But I want to go back to the Trey Lance side of this thing here, Michael, because from my vantage point, this has got to be a disaster for his development and also for the Niners, who got to get an evaluation on their first-round pick from a year ago, who now, after 2 seasons, has only started 4 games. 3 of them he made it all the way through. So you don't really have the data points for Trey Lance to make some sort of evaluation, because year 3 is next year, and we're still not going to know whether Trey Lance can play or not.
Well, I mean, look, there's only 2 people that need data points. That's John Lynch, the general manager, and Adam Peters, the assistant GM. Those were the 2 motivating factors behind this. So they're the only ones that still hold out hope. I'm pretty sure everybody in the building kind of has a sense of where Lance is and where he's going. I'm sure Kyle does as well. But the fact that he didn't play as a senior, he didn't play as a rookie, and now he's not going to play in his second year, that's 3 years of missing football. I mean, Ted Williams had to go serve in Korea and came back and still hit 400. Like, I don't know if Trey Lance can do that. Like, this is hard. This is a hard thing for him. And look, the Niners are going to, once the season's over with, that's the end of Garoppolo. They got to hope they can get a compensatory pick for him. But, they're such a good team, though. It's hard for me to believe that they were going to get this far without a quarterback, and now they have one. For Lance, I think that's just on the back burner. We'll get to that later.
Yeah, that'll definitely be an off-season discussion there, because I think in the long term, the Niners are really put in a bind knowing that Jimmy G is going to go elsewhere after this 2022 season. But this year with Garoppolo at quarterback, they're still fine. Most teams, you lose your starting quarterback for the rest of the year, it's a disaster. Yeah. Jimmy G is right behind there, ready to take this team and go deep into the playoffs like they did a year ago and like they did in 2019 when they went all the way to the Super Bowl. Here's what Garoppolo had to say after the game about returning to the field and the unfortunate injury to Trey Lance.
Just like riding a bike, yeah. It felt good to be back out there. Just feel terrible for Trey. I've been on that side of it. This league is tough, and everyone has their share of injuries, but that sucks for him, and feel bad for him, but he's our brother, and we'll pick him up.
My question to you then, Michael, is do you elevate the 49ers in your power rankings with Jimmy G now at quarterback?
It's funny. I was going to ask that to you. I mean, what are the odds of them getting to the Super Bowl? I think they probably increased, right? I mean, look, this defense is dominating. I mean, Seattle only had 7 third downs in the game. They were 2 for 7 in third down in the game. They only got 14 first downs. 14 first downs. I mean, they just dominated. They just dominated the game. They had 16 plays on one drive, and they had 5 first downs, and then they had 3 first downs on the last drive. That's how good they were during the course of the game when the game was on the line. So, I mean, look, I think this Niner team can go as far as their injury history takes them, as far as they don't turn the ball over. They're good. I mean, they're really good. I mean, yesterday, when you just go through the rushes and completions, I mean, they had 60 to Seattle's 38. We're talking about higher level execution, right? That does, again, rushes and completions don't indicate who's going to win, but it indicates who's really executing. And San Francisco's execution took off. And what I was somewhat amazed by was they were able to run an offense that they probably weren't practicing, because I'm sure Kyle had on that sheet he had a lot of quarterback runs on there. Mm-hmm. That he had to pivot to another sheet. Like, hey, go get me the Seattle game plan from last year, can you, and bring it out, because these are the plays we got to run, right?
Nah, I can see that, because they've mentioned that on the broadcast about how they've practiced a lot of these runs with the Trey Lance scheme. Now it's going back to what we've seen in the past from the Niners. At our show sponsor, DraftKings, the Niners 9-1 to win the NFC and 20-1 to win the Super Bowl. So they're right there in the mix. Their odds didn't really shift as much because they do have a competent quarterback behind Trey Lance, and Jimmy G is going to be the guy for the remainder of this season, we all believe, after Trey Lance goes and has the ankle surgery. Thanks for watching the GM Shuffle with Michael Lombardi, and for more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to VSiN Live and the GM Shuffle podcast with Michael Lombardi, presented by DraftKings and VSiN, wherever you get your podcasts.